come on, I'll just share this out real quick. And, I imagine probably, let's see here. Okay, yeah, we are live. So I guess kind of while we're coming on, do you want to say who you are, explain what you are in this situation?
Oh, yeah, sure. Ryan Balch. My connection's terrible.
That's okay. We'll work with it.
So I was part of a militia group that went down to Kenosha, and we were basically posted up with Kyle and his friends.
So Kyle and his friends, like how many was with Kyle, do you think?
When we rolled up on them, there were 4 of them.
Is there, like, was that similar age?
Yeah, they all seemed pretty young. So we asked them, how old they were, and they all ended up giving us 19.
So that's something, because before we went live, we were talking about like the legalities of everything, and that's something that definitely, because it's like you said before we went live, this is a really important case. This is going to affect a lot of different things. The age thing right off the bat, you didn't know Kyle's age.
No.
What if you had known? How would that have played out?
I'd have sent it ass.
Because and that's not like an exception at all or anything.
No.
So because another thing, I saw that you got targeted a bit. That's another reason why I reached out to you. Like I saw on Twitter, they doxed you right away and said like you were with Kyle and shit like that.
Oh yeah. The guy that initially let loose who I was a long-term friend who we had a falling out earlier in the year.
So that was kind of just. So that was okay. So that wasn't like a random person on Twitter. That was actually somewhat of a direct slap in the face.
Yep.
Oh, that's super fun. But
that guy.
and what from there you got? Did you catch much shit from that overall? Like pretty much from there, was it just assumed you were with Kyle?
Yeah, everybody's pretty much tried to say that I'm with Kyle and Kyle's my friend and all this stuff, and I didn't know the kid for 5 minutes before we got up with him.
What? Let me make sure. Okay, and I'm gonna check comments.
Difficulty.
Oh yeah, no, you're good.
Yeah.
Okay, but so like your actual relationship with Kyle was what?
Like minimal.
It just.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, cool. All right, yeah, it's pretty minimal. Talked to him a little bit throughout the night. When we started going out and helping injured protesters, he tagged along with me. We had a few discussions where the police had come up and talked to us and whatnot. But as far as knowing anything about his life or anything like that, nothing.
And so basically, you just happened to get caught in that video.
Yeah, that's what happened. I was just in that video for literally a minute long stretch.
So
and boom, there.
So Man, that really kind of sucks for you.
Yeah.
That's like, okay. So what was your purpose there that night? Wait, like how did you end up in Kenosha?
Um, we had been hearing through, the obvious channels and, the militia movement and stuff like that, that there was rumors that somebody was going to try to do something bad while we were down there. And a lot of the guys that went down that weren't a part of any specific organization went down there kind of to stop that. So we kind of went down there with a peacekeeping mission in mind.
I gotcha. And there wasn't any other shots fired like that night by any of your group.
By any of us, no. There was somebody shooting other than Kyle.
Yeah, there's the handgun right in the background of the very first shooting, right beforehand.
Right, because we would have hit other people.
But then, like, as far as what kind of time frame are we even on from the infamous clip of you walking with Kyle to the actual shooting?
Maybe 30 minutes prior.
Okay, so it's I guess you can kind of see how people would just assume.
Right.
So it's not like it was 3 hours later, after you were randomly seen.
Right. And like I don't blame anybody for making the association. If I wasn't in the situation and saw it, that's what I would think too. So
Right.
It's kind of one of the reasons I've been willing to talk to folks about it. Like, hey, I didn't know the guy, but it was in proximity,
So was there like, because that's another thing, and I did see with SPLC, you were kind of touching on this. Like, would you even say that it was actually a militia that was down there?
I would say that Kyle wasn't a part of any of the organized groups that were there. There were several organizations that were represented down there and from the state, but him being a member, that wasn't the case at all.
And he just kind of, because of that video clip, it's just kind of been latched on to what the guys you were there with.
Yeah.
But so there were,
we had set up in one of the facilities that he was there to guard. So there was a lot of commitment there.
Well, and then, and also he did tell you guys that he was EMT trained, which...
Correct. He told us that and law enforcement.
Which, and then it comes to find out he actually never did finish that training. Well, and it's kind of been all over the place, because then they also say that he was asked to protect I believe it's a friend's family's business, and then all of a sudden, like at the same time, he's allegedly part of a militia group. Yet, I mean, I thought the militia argument was odd from the get-go with the 17-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, I could pull up the statute, but the owners of the business, I don't believe that they were related to him. They seemed like they were fairly new immigrants to the country.
And so, like, okay, so how does that part work? Like, okay, so were you actually guarding the same buildings as Kyle, or was it just like brief passing bys?
We were in and around the same buildings the whole night. But as far as we brought him there, or it really wasn't a case of that.
Well, and from the Facebook event, did you have like a decent turnout from that alone? Like, did you just kind of have a bunch of scragglers?
Most of the folks that I saw down there weren't associated with the Facebook event. In fact, most of us saw the Facebook event and had talked about how that was probably a Fed trap, so we're not going to go. And that Kyle was there with because of that, but I never heard him say anything like that.
Well, the Facebook event thing can really be hit or miss too.
Yeah.
But then with the like, and even with you guys, so was like, were you guys hired to be there? Was there anybody that was uh, like personally requested to be there, or was this just kind of like an independent effort?
It was kind of an independent effort. When we first showed up, what it looked like, you guys from the movement had showed up, and owners were kind of like reaching out to people who they saw on the street to ask them to help. That's the case with the gas station and with Car Source, because I'm not too entirely sure if Kyle and his friends actually worked for Car Source or not.
Right.
But as you drove through town, there would armed groups of men walking down the street, and you'd see people hail them over, and then they would just set up shop there. And that's kind of what happened with us with Car Source.
I gotcha. So just kind of showing up and listening at going as you're going through the city, basically.
Correct.
But it wasn't like a wandering. So you guys were basically just in the same area the majority of the night.
Right.
I gotcha. Like as far as once because it seems like, because you also did an interview at the end talking about police pushing people towards you guys. Was that you as well?
Yeah, that was me.
I thought so. So like, before the shooting actually happened, did you guys like end up splitting ways, or like going farther?
So what happened leading up to the shooting is we had the cops had said that thing towards, like, it was more of an interaction between them and Kyle, and me and some of my guys overheard it, and they were like, yeah, we're going to be pushing them towards you guys, and then we're going to leave, and it's going to be up to you guys to deal with it. And we were like, fuck. So we quick set up a freaking aid station inside Car Source, because they're like, well, this is going to get bad.
Right.
And people are going to get hurt, regardless if they get hurt by the police or somebody in the crowd hurts us, or we have to hurt somebody in the crowd for whatever reason. We're going to need to be able to take care of those people on site. So we did that. And then the militia started to broaden our patrols in the air. While we were doing that, if there was a protester that was injured or whatnot, we'd ask them if they wanted to get patched up real quick, and most of them took us up on the offer. So we were intermittently walking throughout the crowd the whole night, after they pushed them towards us. Prior to the shooting, they were well past the area and the location where we were at. So Bearcats and Max Pros were blocking the street off, and they're firing rubber bullets, they're firing tear gas. The protesters are throwing rocks.
And so are we basically on like a one street area here?
Oh yeah, one street.
Okay, so it's like,
it's just
north south or east west, but
yeah, north south. We were to the north south. Right before the shooting, that interview you see with Kyle, we were walking down into the crowd to go see if anybody had gotten hurt in the exchange between the protesters and the cops.
Right.
And that's why I had a aid bag, and I had med kit on me. My buddy had a med kit on him. After he did his little interview, I kind of motioned to him, hey, stop freaking talking to this guy. Let's get past the cops, because they were throwing rocks at the cops. And when we would walk in front of the cops, they would quit throwing rocks. So the protesters weren't targeting us at all. In fact, we'd had great conversations and mixing it up and chatting with them all through the night. We went into the into the crowd and started asking around, seeing if anybody was hurt. And there were a couple people that were hurt. You know, applied first aid, and we was the gas station, which is in the center of where all this happened. Me and Kyle was kind of like tagging along with me through that, and we got up in a crowd, and the first victim and somebody else stopped us and started yelling at us. And that's not the video that everybody says is the video, because that wasn't caught on camera. But he made threats, and we were just like, hey, dude, we're just chill out, man. It'd be cool. And, he reinstated his threat, and we're like, whatever. And then me and Cal started walking off again, and somebody else came up and started yelling at us, and then he walked off and got separated. And from that point to the first shots, I was walking through the crowd looking for him and my friends. And finally I was like, well, maybe they went back up north. So I walked past the Bearcats, and the cops stopped me and asked if we were okay up by where we were at. And I was like, yeah, it's cool. It's whatever, man. They've been really chill with us. And as soon as I got across the street heading north, that's when the gunshot started. So the first shot was not a rifle. And then I heard a rifle fire back.
And so that's that handgun that we see right
that's
at the
handgun shot
beginning of the clip.
And it was like almost immediate. There was a handgun, and then there was a rifle. So
I just saw a question because you cut out a couple times there, but so the first victim of the shootings, he made threats that were not on camera.
Correct.
And then what do you remember what he was even threatening?
He seemed to have a problem with the folks that were out there guarding the businesses and whatnot.
Right.
We saw that exchange between him and another guy earlier in the night where he was, telling him to shoot him.
Yeah.
And with me and Kyle, it was, if I catch one of you along, you're dead.
So he definitely, the theme of the crowd is not that everybody hated you guys, but that guy definitely, definitely had some issues.
Yeah, he definitely did. There were a couple of people within the crowd that didn't like us, but by and large, most everybody was real cool with us, and we were cool with them, and things from spiraling out of control.
So, okay, so yeah, sorry, that was it. So you can continue.
Yeah. My thoughts when I first heard the shots was somebody just took a shot at one of my guys, and my guy was fighting back. So I charged off into where that street is. After you get past 60th, there's a gas station, and then there's a big open green space over here, like a park almost. I ran into the park because that was the open grassy area, the ye old grassy knoll. Fuck, man.
Right.
Anyway, so I ran off into that because that was the direction I heard the shots come from. And what is that?
I know, you're good.
Ugh. Sorry about that. An alarm went off.
No, you're good.
I was like, what the fuck? So I charged off into that and telling people to get down and whatnot. And then the shootings on the street right there across from the gas station happened. And so I immediately willed on to that because, been overseas a couple of times. I got a lot of time on ARs. I could tell instantaneously that was an AR that had went off. So I was like, oh shit, now they're shooting up here. And the only guys that were armed like that were the militia guys. I was like, what the fuck is going on? They're shooting down here. They're shooting over here. What the fuck? So then I turn to go towards the new shooting now and saw my buddy helping the guy that got shot in the arm. And there's a picture of that, him putting the tourniquet on, and then you see my face come around asking him if it's everything. And, you know, he's like, yeah, I'm good. You know, there's somebody else. So I ran over to the guy that had the skateboard. And as soon as I ran up on him, some of his friends were over him. As I was approaching, they ran off. And I kind of dropped down next to him, checked for pulse, checked for breathing. There was none of that. So you could tell he'd been shot in the chest. And next thing I know, here comes a freaking Bearcat. They start dragging him into the Bearcat, and I'm handing him his phone and shit. And then look back over, they've started to cart the guy that Gage, the guy that got shot in the arm. They've started to cart him off. And then more shooting starts up to the south. And me and my friends took off towards that. There were a couple of Antifa guys that kind of saddled up with us as well and went towards it. And we got into the car. And
real quick, I see something over in the comments. The first shots that he's talking about, like the first shots didn't have anything to do with Kyle and the first shooting. At least from what it looks like. It may be from an off distance, but if you actually watch the video, you can see somebody is firing a handgun right before Kyle's first shots. So what he was just talking about, hearing the gunshot before Kyle's shots, he's talking about the handgun that is on video, because it's very brief and you have to listen, pay attention. I think maybe the New York Times or somebody actually slowed it down and like zoomed in on the handgun. But there was 2 different gunshots right at the initial shooting that happened, and they both weren't from Kyle.
Right.
Which, as far as I know, the handgun, they never found anybody or said anything more about that guy, really.
No, that's been a very questionable aspect of it as well. A couple of times now. And nobody seems to know what that was about. There seems to be, and it'll make more sense after I finish out what I was saying earlier, but you know, we ran down to the Southern Car Source location, and we got in there, and there's some cars in there and whatnot. And as soon as we walked into that area, we started getting shot at from that direction, from the west, by a handgun. So we all got behind cars.
So, you know, I wonder, because during the second and third shooting videos, that was one thing that we noticed on one of the videos I did on this, was hearing a bunch of shots in the background.
Yep.
So I wonder if that's what that is.
It's a possibility. There was a lot of shooting going on during the whole thing.
You can definitely hear that in the video, that there's more than just Kyle shooting.
I think I froze up.
I can still hear you. Let's see, Ryan might have froze up for a second. So that's okay, though. He should be able to connect right back in. And guys, I'm trying to keep an eye on you over in the comments over there. There were definitely more than just Kyle shooting. Kyle wasn't the first gunshot. That's been pretty long confirmed, that the first shot actually is a handgun, like nearby, And again, I think like New York Times or some shit like really slowed down the video and went over all of that shit. But it looks like we have a Ryan froze up right at the moment. Oh, and at the beginning, I guess there was some echo issues. My bad on that, y'all. I thought maybe there was. I had one of my settings slightly off for doing lives that don't have a guest on. Let's see. We were all worried about Andrew and CJ that night. Oh, yeah. Okay, I know it. What is it? Mercado Media and CJTV? I think CJTV is the name of CJ's platform now. Let me shoot Ryan a message and see if we can get him fixed. Yeah, okay, Ryan just told me that his internet took his shit. The gun shooting in the background, see, that's actually what we were talking about just there. Because there were multiple shots. There's even when the second and third shooting occurred, the chest shot and the arm shot, you can hear a lot of guns going off in the background, because I remember that was something that even the first live that we were watching this stuff, yeah, I remember even in the comment section, I think is who pointed out that there was all these who's shooting in the background during those two shootings. So it sounds like quite possibly the shots being heard during those second and third videos very well might have been the handguns that were shooting at Ryan and his group, which it sounds like Ryan was not even fully clear on why they were being shot at. You know what? We might have to get Ryan a new link. Let me see. We're going to try this real quick on live, guys, and see if this works. So bear with me, and if this doesn't work, then we may have to start a new live to get Ryan back on. Let's see, how do I want to do this? Okay, things might look a little odd for a second, guys. So, just bear with me there. We'll see if we can get Ryan back on like this. Let's see, we'll keep fingers crossed over here. And if not, we'll just start, like I said, we'll start a new live, or we'll just bring Ryan back on again once when he's around a little bit better interwebs and whatnot. Did he say the first victim fired a gun? No, he did not say the first victim fired a gun. The first victim did not have a gun. Property, I feel like could be wrong.
I'm back.
You are back. There we go. Neat. And I actually did that while we were live, so that's I did not know I could do that. So thank you for being my guinea pig with that. Yep. Okay, so you're getting shot at, and with the being shot at, you guys don't really have any clue what's going on with that.
Yeah, no, we never got any information on that at all. We didn't shoot back because you could see people milling around back there, and whoever was doing the shooting was ducking in and out, so it's just not the time to shoot at that point, you know.
Right. It's not really even clear on who or what you're shooting at. So kind of, but like overall, are we? I did just see somebody say that in the comments, and that actually I think is a good question. Like, are we in a riot at this point, or are we in heavy protests?
It seemed to be going between. It was kind of floating on that middle ground, where you had some people who were going at the police, you know, throwing stuff at them and whatnot. And then you had the vast majority of the people there who were just protesting. I haven't really described the whole night as a riot because people seem to be, most of the people that were in the crowd that night seemed to be from Kenosha and seemed to have the mentality that they weren't there to burn their own damn town down.
Right, and you know that's one thing. I actually live streamed from Ferguson back in 2014, and that was a big thing there because that was a small town. And the next morning, we were one of the first let behind police lines after they burned Ferguson down. And I tell you, like 6, 7 in the morning, residents of Ferguson were already lined up at the police lines, just bawling and shit. Because they were like, this wasn't what we wanted. We have issues here, and now y'all just came in and burnt our shit down.
Yep.
But like, I imagine you guys probably had a similar thing out there because, like, if you went and looked at Ferguson arrests, you saw that there was a lot of arrests were from St. Louis, which was like 40 minutes away. They could drive over to Ferguson, fuck up their stuff, then drive back to their home, and everything's cool.
Oh, yeah, you had a lot of people from Milwaukee, Chicago. There was supposedly folks from Minneapolis there.
I think I had seen some about that as well with the Minneapolis and whatnot. But, okay, so you guys are being shot at, and where do we go from there?
When we realized we couldn't really return fire, we kind of backed around behind the building, and then we kind of peeked our heads around the corner again, and all of a sudden all the police that had been up by the gas station were now over there, and they were surrounding an apartment building. And
I think I remember hearing, like, for a moment they thought that the shooter, quote unquote, was in a apartment building nearby.
Yeah. And at that point, we kind of were like, you know, we're not trying to get into a 3-way shooting match with the cops and whoever the fuck thereafter. So that's when you see the video between me, my friend, and BLM. Folks were sitting there trying to figure out what the fuck happened.
Right.
Because everything was good between us prior to everything going down. And we were trying to figure out who actually shot. Nobody that was on the ground right then and there from our side knew that Kyle had been involved in the shooting. We were trying to figure out who the fuck the guy was in the green shirt with the gun. And there was about 80 of them out there. So,
right. So at that point, yeah, I mean, yeah, I suppose that makes sense. You're looking for a guy in a green shirt with an AR. Like that's not going to exactly narrow it down.
No.
Kyle, though, like with him, because another thing that I do think is important. Like again, he lied about his age to people.
You cut out there for a second.
But when Kyle showed up and whatnot, he lied about his age to the people that were out there. Was there even? I mean, did he seem like he was out there with good intentions from the get go, or do you think this was just something that was going to fucking happen, basically, no matter what?
I don't think that he went out there with the intentions to shoot people. Like, he seemed for what was going on for a lot of it. He didn't really chill out until we actually started going out into the crowd and conversing with the people. He seemed very, I don't say he wasn't aggressive. It was more of a I'm in over my head and these people are fucking scary kind of situation for him until he started to interact. And that's one of the reasons why I think the case is going to be important and this is something else that I said to the SPLC, I don't think he went out there to shoot anyone. Like I didn't catch that vibe.
Right.
It's as far as the other two shootings, like I've talked to friends of, Anthony Huber and whatnot. I'm like, dude went out like a fucking stud, man. He went after somebody who was armed with an AR-15 with a freaking skateboard. Like, that takes fucking nuts.
That is true. That's very true. And that is one thing too, and granted I get it. There's like the screaming of beat his ass and everything. But there's also the argument once you get to second and third shooting that these people are going after him because he just shot someone and technically he's still running with the murder weapon that he wasn't supposed to have towards other people. So I mean, in the eyes of the law, you are looking at a valid threat to the public at that point.
Right. I think that I was trying there. And I think in the guys that went after his mind, they were trying to protect the crowd. They were doing the same thing we were trying to do.
Right.
So, like, I don't blame them at all for what they were freaking doing. Like, had I been in their shoes, probably been doing the same fucking thing. And, I mean, I just didn't realize that dude that had done most of the shooting was going the other direction,
Right.
We were thinking this was something that was going down there, came up here and went back down there,
But like overall, do you think, because another thing that I think a lot of people have looked over that you said, it kind of got some attention at the beginning, but it kind of seems like you can.
Yeah. God, why does she have so many? Stop. Shit.
That's what happens when you do it live. Fuck it, we're doing it live.
Yeah, fuck it.
But no, that like one thing that I think it kind of got picked up for a minute when when the video first came out, but I think it kind of got drowned out with the whole video of you and Kyle together. But you did say something that was kind of fucking alarming, and that's the fact that like the police doing this plan of like just pushing them, corralling people towards you guys which obviously just creates a volatile situation. Like, do you see that being a problem area of the night?
The protesters were very much, adamant about the fact that they wanted to be up at the courthouse. That's where they wanted to take out their anger and their ire. And like on our end, we're not most of us that are out there are not exactly too friendly to the government and the shit that they do. So they want to go fuck up the courthouse, we'd be cool with that. Hey, have fun.
Right.
Um,
That's
and
actually
when they got
I've actually said that for a while. Like, I'm not encouraging anybody, just to be clear, to go destroy government property or anything, but
right,
like at the 2016 inauguration, I was filming like the Black Bloc kiddos running around and like burning limos and shit like that, and like Starbucks windows going down, and I've just never understood that. Again, I'm not giving my consent, but if you're pissed off at the government, why don't you go fuck up their stuff?
right. It seems like a lot of the people that do that view it as a means to an end, and in reality, it just seems to piss the people off in the local area off at you more.
Right.
Like had the destruction of property not happened the night before, there's a really good chance that Kyle might not have even been there that night. We would have probably been up at the courthouse with the protesters instead of down there in front of a business.
Right.
Because we had been talking about doing that. I mean, we have done that in the past.
Well, and that is that is part of the issue. I do think that like a lot of these riots and shit that we're seeing is other issues too, and just kind of using these shootings as an outlet for being pissed off at all this other shit from the government.
Oh, definitely. It's nobody goes out and riots over one person getting killed.
No.
These are serious issues that haven't been discussed, haven't been talked about, and haven't been dealt with that these people are pissed about. Well, I'm pissed about it.
And I don't think it even is limited to the racial profiling. I think we're talking all the way down to fucking sales tax shit. People are just getting fed up, and this is acting as like an outlet to finally go out there and be like, fuck you. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
But
I mean, go ahead.
With now, like I think we were kind of talking about this before we went live. Your self-defense laws there, like obviously Kyle's attorneys, which again I think they're fucking dirtbags. I think they're using this kid for some quick cash and shit. I don't think there really is a best interest of what's going to happen to him. But obviously, in their defense, they're latching on to you guys, to the militias, and to self-defense. Your self-defense laws they're not the greatest in the country.
There's a lot of gray area, and it seems like whether or not in Wisconsin, it seems like your self-defense, whether it's legal or not, depends on several technicalities. Were you committing a crime beforehand? Do your duty to retreat, stuff like that. And I'm thinking that they may have found that that's not an avenue that may be an avenue they're trying to pursue after they try to say, hey, he was with the militia, therefore he was doing militia stuff, and what he did was perfectly okay. But it gets, I'm trying to pull up the actual, Title 10. Yeah, I mean, and this will probably explain a lot why they're trying to use the militia argument as well. The militia of the United States consists of all able-bodied males at least 17 years of age, and except as provided in section blah 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 blah. 5 years. So I think they're going to try to classify him as unorganized militia, which would be the unorganized militia, which consists of members of the militia who are not members of the National Guard or the Naval Militia.
But at this point, though, it kind of seems like all of the different, or at least major militia groups, have kind of separated themselves from him.
Oh, absolutely. On our end, and I don't try to speak for everybody on that, but at least the way I see it is she wasn't there with any of us, and she wasn't with any particular group that was out there. It was him and his friends.
I'm guessing the friends. I'm guessing the friends you didn't know. Did you know them at all?
I would say out of the four of them, we probably had more interactions with Kyle. His other friends just kind of tried to stay as far away from us as they could.
Were they armed too?
Yes.
So they but so they kind of weren't, I guess, feeling as much wanting to group up and whatnot as Kyle.
I was reading a comment. What'd you say?
Like I'm guessing they didn't. They just weren't really digging the grouping up vibe.
No, they seemed like they were source, and as far as Kyle and his friends, and the other militia guys that were out there, we'd all just kind of staked out our corners, and that's where we were going to be.
Let's see, somebody said, was one of the friends tall, dark shirt, red beard? I feel like that's a pretty broad description.
That is a pretty broad description.
If you could remember last month, if there's a tall man with a dark shirt and a beard. Yeah, I don't.
Tall man with a red beard.
Yeah, I don't know.
There was a lot of tall guys with beards out there.
Yeah, I kind of figured that would be the response to that. But no, like, and since then, I also did see with SPLC, you were kind of talking about like this whole rather bizarre, like making Kyle a hero, like he's an example for.
Right.
I mean, how do you even feel about that with your position?
Well, my position is, and like I told them, is he freaking lied to us while we were down there. He got separated from the people who he said he was supposed to be. He was gonna walk around with. From the video that I've seen, it looked like he was getting attacked. Now, whether lethal force was legal in that instance or not, I wasn't there. I don't know. I'd rather let due process figure that one out. But nothing he did out there was with any sort of intent, as far as I could discern. So, trying to make him up as some sort of right wing, he went out and shot them damn Antifas as a hero. It doesn't really fit with the facts.
Right.
And honestly, they're just going to hurt him even more.
Well, and I guess I didn't really even think about it like that, because without the actual intention, yeah, he's not just going out there and and shooting the enemy or any shit like that you've seen from some of the social media, if that situation just kind of created itself, then fucking obviously, because that's the thing. I've never been on board for he was just going down there, just straight up to kill people. And one of the things with that is after that first shooting, he did stop shooting. That still doesn't change my mind. I'm still pretty confident he violated some laws and that kid's life is probably fucked. It could turn out different. I don't know, especially with the sort of direction that his attorneys are going currently. I don't, because like
kind of weird.
Like, so, and are you part of a Kenosha Guard then, or are you a different? No. Okay, so
seems like Kenosha Guard was like, I don't even think that is an actual organization.
You know, and I was kind of looking at him the night of.
Seems like it's just a fake.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at him the night of, and it really looked more like a Facebook entity.
Yeah, it looked like it was just an event that people were going to.
Well, they did have an actual Facebook page. They ended up deleting it shortly after the event was removed. I think they did it after the event was removed.
Yeah, they I've kind of dealt with that a little bit. You know, people have tried to accuse me of being a member of Kenosha Guard, but I never, like, I saw the Facebook ad for the event, and like me and my guys looked at it, we laughed, and we're like, haha, that's a Fed trap right there. We're not going.
Right.
We're gonna go down to these freaking businesses. We're not getting wrapped up in that shit. And so as far as Guard, no.
Do you, even off the top of your head, like, any clue how many groups were even down there?
Organized groups, there were about 3 or 4 that were down there, but there were a couple of hundred dudes with guns down there doing the militia thing.
What was their protest wise? Were you guys actually pretty equally numbered?
I would say that well, I didn't see the initial up at the courthouse protest.
Right.
But the group that was down by us, they had us outnumbered pretty squarely, probably 5-1.
I gotcha. It's still a pretty solid turnout on the other end.
Oh, yeah.
But also, yeah, I guess by that point, you guys got like outsiders and shit coming into the city, and it's become like a national spectacle by that point.
Yeah.
So that makes sense on the protester influx and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. It's really just a shitty situation all around. I still think whatever adult was in the kid's life definitely shouldn't have ever put him in that situation. Like,
yeah, I got kids myself. I wouldn't put my fucking son in that situation.
Like this,
not ever.
The SPLC, like what happened with that? How'd you even get hooked up with that? Like, are you what kind of shit have you caught since since the video of you guys walking together went out to the world?
The thing with the SPLC is I got doxxed by my friend, and then I'm a pretty notorious fucking shit poster as well. So like, and from 2016 to late 2018, me and some friends ran a page where we spoofed the alt-right, and the SPLC found a freaking account that was related to that had been friggin' deactivated, and they took that and then like, oh, he's a white supremacist and blah blah blah. And the second article, which is probably the one you read, that's when I'd called them to correct the record. Like, hey, here's all the evidence, and they just wanted the conversation to go towards Kyle. Told him about the situation, and then they were like, "Yeah, your evidence is trash." So that's how that went down with those guys, which is exactly how I figured it would go.
So then, okay, so yeah, I saw the second one then where it was you and Kyle.
Yeah.
And since that, so like, what's gone on social media and shit? I mean, you still have your account, so obviously you're doing better than a lot. Like a lot of the Kenosha Guard guys seem to disappear real quick after everything went down.
Is after I started getting slammed and stuff, it never goes well for the guys that hide. So with everything and the bullshit that's going on, I'd rather just get out there and like say, hey, these are the facts. This is who I am. This is what I believe. Horse's mouth kind of thing. Rather than just, shelter the storm and hide from it.
Right. Did you get any? Did cops try and talk to you or anything about it? Like,
I'd had an interview with a federal entity over the situation.
I imagine,
and
a lot of people did.
They wanted to know. They were quite interested in how this whole situation had played out.
I did see this earlier, and I forgot.
Picture.
I forgot to ask this when I saw this earlier, but I did like this question. Kyle's charges. Do you agree with Kyle's charges from what happened?
Kyle's charges are what you would get regardless for a self-defense shooting. So, like, the way that works out is they charge you with murder, and then the courts get to decide whether it was self-defense or not. So, yeah, I mean, what any other rando off the street would get.
But then still, and then that's where we get into that area where obviously court's going to have to play out with just everything, because there is such a weird gray area here.
Right. Yeah. I think it's going to go badly for him, to be honest. But
I unfortunately agree. And again, this isn't like I don't give a shit who was shot as far as sidewise or anything. If
right.
I would feel the exact same if it was 3 militia guys that were shot by one of the protesters. I mean, I don't really care about that side. I'm more interested in the exact legal side of this. And just one of the things that, I mean, that hurts all around. He's out there lying to you guys about your age. It shows that he knows he wasn't supposed to be out there. He knew he wasn't supposed to have the gun. He knew he had to lie to you guys to stay around people. So I think that's going to be really fucking hard to not deem him a provocateur, which at that point, that self-defense is going to be super fucked.
Correct. Well, you got to have your ducks in a row when you're out doing stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, and then also, if the another big thing that people have been confused on is the turning himself in, which never happened.
Yeah.
He was picked up the next day at his mother's place. The gun that was used was also turned in by that police department and then passed over to Wisconsin's police department. So obviously there's still some confusion, I believe, on the gun crossing to Wisconsin, or if it never did, but it obviously left Wisconsin after the fact.
Correct.
If
It's
if you were Kyle, would you have went home that night?
um. Well, I live it. I would have probably, ensured that I'd turned myself in right then and there. But I understand why the cops wouldn't have allowed that to happen. Um, they've already pegged him as one of the militia guys. They've got militia guys on the roof behind them. They've got militia groups all around them. And they start trying to arrest this guy. They might have thought they were going to catch some sort of, hell from us, which wouldn't have been the case. We were just trying to figure out what the fuck was going on.
Right. Well, and then
And
also, I do think the SWAT vehicles, like, because with that, I've wondered two things. You can't really hear Kyle yelling, so I don't think he yelled anything out. And so I feel like there's a chance that they might not have been able to hear what was going on. Because in one of the next videos, you actually see those SWAT vehicles pulling up to where there's injured, and they're like getting out to check on
right,
the injured. So I almost feel like there's a half chance that wasn't even the cops' fault. They were just trying to get to the injured at that point and weren't really
right,
paying. I mean, you got to think about the situation. They're fucking at that point. They're being yelled at all fucking day. I'm sure it gets to a
yep,
point where they just tune it out.
yep.
Um,
I've had some experience in MRAPs and stuff like that overseas. It's highly likely that they just didn't fucking hear it,
right.
and it's highly likely, like you said, they were probably just like, well, fuck everybody that's around us. We're just going to ignore you
Yeah,
until it's time to shoot more tear gas.
we get it. We're dickheads. Whatever. Okay, get the fuck out of the road. We got to
Yep.
go by. I
Yep.
could see that happening. That shit. I do my best to stay as biased as possible. There's a lot of times my opinion comes out a little bit more, but uh, yeah, I mean, I think that's another thing on the self defense. There were so many cops there, and not to go directly to a cop station afterwards is probably not
Right.
gonna. At the very least, go to a police department instead of home.
Yep.
It's, and I'm guessing there was a pretty good amount of officers there, like not just in
I
the
mean,
immediate vicinity.
like I've had a use of force as a civilian as well, and like I didn't even get a fucking chance to like decide whether I was going to turn myself in or not. Like they showed up with SWAT,
Right.
and there were no shots even fired. Like, so
Um,
it was
I see somebody saying there isn't any self defense in Wisconsin, and that's not true at all. There are self defense laws in Wisconsin.
yeah,
There's also protecting property laws, which I believe
correct.
it has to be immediate family, or you have to run the property. Blah blah blah. Um,
That, and then I've also read that a third party, like the way it works out, the way it was explained to me when I went through my class was that in Wisconsin you protect yourself, your property, or a third person or a third person's property if it's in imminent danger and would cause grievous injury or life or threat to life. Um, that's kind of what we were working off of down there. Was that a lot of people? There's the meme going around, that they value property more than lives, but in reality, we were just our main concern was that if you throw out gas at one of these gas stations, this whole block goes up.
right.
Um,
This is a new one that I actually haven't heard before. Were you guys having plastic bags of chemicals thrown at you by protesters?
yeah, I got hit with me personally, I got hit with a bag filled with bleach and ammonia.
Oh, really?
And yeah, for like a week and a half afterwards, I couldn't even talk.
Was that or have you been down there multiple nights, or were you just down there that one night?
I just went down there that one night, and then the next night after getting hit with the gas or the bag or whatever the hell that was, filled with the bleach and ammonia, I had to get medical attention for that, obviously. And I was like, well, I'm down for the count now,
Right. So, like, after the whole shooting happened, did that kind of change or did the night didn't even really go on much after that, did it?
The night kind of ended. A lot of us that had talked quite a bit during the night from both sides, we kind of met in our little powwow, and a live streamer walked up, and you got a little bit of that. We all exchanged numbers and Facebook page, and we were like, we should talk about it and hang out maybe sometime. And we all went home.
Did bags of shit? Were they throwing bags of shit as well?
I didn't see bags of shit being thrown.
I think I actually made a post about that not that long ago. I think that was possibly police in Portland, that they were throwing like balloons full of shit at them.
Yeah, that sounds like a Portland thing.
Yeah, oddly enough. Yeah, so I think that that might be what you're thinking of there. But also, I hadn't heard of I didn't know that there was bags of chemical shit being thrown that night.
Oh yeah, bags of chemical shit being thrown is just that's a common part of it. You run into that pretty readily. That's part of the reason I didn't have a mask on at the end of the night.
But
the mask that I did.
But still, overall, it wasn't just this straight up. You guys were at war the whole night, like some people have been trying to say.
Oh no, man, we were smoking and joking and conversating, and there was a lot of communication going on the ground between us and the protesters, and the vast majority of the interactions were positive. We'd figured out that that the police were kind of letting us do what we wanted to and weren't really messing with us all that much.
Right.
So if we noticed they were reading a specific group of people, we would escort them past the police so they wouldn't get wrapped up.
Would you almost say that was kind of bullshit? I guess, like, I don't know. Do you feel like police should be giving the like a special treatment to you guys over protesters?
No, they should have been treating us like they were treating everybody else. Like, I mean, the militia that was out there, they're blue or anything. We were there to make sure that the people in the area didn't get hurt. We were doing their job for them because they seemed to not give a fuck.
Well, and that's kind of a weird part about it, especially the people that are like super back to blue and then also don't tread on me, which normally doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
No, it's
like there does seem to be this, and with some of the groups, it does look like maybe they did have a closer relationship with the police, but it is kind of like you said, a lot of the militia groups and whatnot that you're going to encounter actually have issues with the government. Like,
oh yeah.
So it's not like this, hey, welcome our blue brothers. And again, I know like some of them are, but overall, I think it's kind of interesting that you say you guys should get the same treatment.
Yeah.
And I guess one other thing, because I won't keep you much longer, but so you're like kind of separated by this point and it's like 30 minutes away. Do you even have any clue how we got from standing, protecting things, to all of a sudden we're running and being chased by a dude with a bag.
I have no idea how all that went down. And that seems to be, there were people who were around it when, from the protesters who were trying to figure out what the fuck. Like, everything was cool, everything was chill. I mean, there's two guys over in the grassy area giving each other blowjobs, and next thing you know, there's gunshots going off. You know, like, what the fuck is going on here?
Like, are we? Is there like a lot of distance? Because okay, that does make helps put in some perspective that you said like this is all basically occurring along one street.
It's a 2-block stretch of space.
So, like from where you saw him earlier to that car lot, like how far a distance are we talking there?
From the gas station that everybody knows about.
Or actually, I guess
To
like the where the first shooting happened. Like how far is that from where the first victim was getting a little wild with everybody?
a block.
Okay, so there's a little bit of distance for
Yeah.
maybe some like walking and talking and walking shit talking sort of deal.
Oh, easily.
But by then, I mean, it almost seems like he's even separated by his friends because it was like confirmed that the phone call he made, it wasn't to police, that was to one of his friends, which sounds like it's probably one of the people he was down there with.
Yeah.
So it kind of sounds like he really just kind of fell off from everybody and was off on his own.
Yeah. He got separated from me and my friends who went down there into the crowd to check on, to see if anybody was injured, and got separated from us, and that's when all hell broke loose.
That could kind of explain the more running, and because I mean, let's face it, if you're standing there with 6 dudes with fucking ARs, there's a little bit of a lesser chance that you're gonna go running from one person talking shit.
Yeah.
You know, that is what it is. You know,
Right. You know, that wouldn't be the logical thing that I would do.
no, I mean, and it kind of seems like if they was still with a group of anybody, that somebody would have intervened before it even got to the running point.
Right.
Because like that the other famous video of like the first victim talking shit, you saw people kept on getting in between,
right,
and trying to get shit calmed back down.
Yeah. It was everybody seemed to be making that their priority, was keeping the situation chill. Oh. Yeah. You had those few people who were out there trying to not make it so, but you know. But that's any large group of people.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you even go to a concert, then that's something that can be expected. Well, I don't want to keep you all night. I think this gives a little bit of clarity. Hopefully, because I can give you any links and whatnot, and hopefully this can kind of help to separate you from it.
Yeah.
Which, and you know, that is another thing. Again, like I don't care about any of the players. It's more figuring out what exactly happened and then how the laws are gonna. That's the part I'm interested in, because it is
Right.
like you said. This is a more important case than I think a lot of people really realize at this point.
Oh yeah, this is gonna have ramifications outside of just this situation.
Oh yeah.
This could fundamentally change the way things operate in the country, as far as, you know, self-defense and stuff like that.
That's very true. Yeah, that is one thing that I really don't think people are paying attention to, and now it's kind of falling off into the shadows because that like initial viral new car smells kind of weared off, so people are just kind of, I don't know. It's kind of weird everybody latched on to this kid and just kind of, I don't know.
I think it shows the division in the country right now and all the political bullshit that's going on.
Well, and that's funny you say that. I was actually just on a live about censorship. And one of the things I was talking about is the potential of it even being specifically used for division, because like I just came off a YouTube ban for a video that had no graphic content. It was about the guy, Ryan McNutt, who shot himself on Facebook Live. I didn't play the video. I actually played his memorial, and then I cleared up that he had a few scam GoFundMes out there. That video got up to like 60,000 views, and then YouTube pulled it, and they put me in jail for a week, even though there was no graphic content. I still have the video of Kyle up and the shootings, and I didn't get anything on YouTube or Facebook. I've done this for 6 years now. I've had content pulled. I've been put in Facebook jail and shit over police shootings, even body cams. So it doesn't make sense that first shooting, the headshot alone, that video was allowed to stay online.
No. It's been kind of insane. Like for me, like I guess I could say that I underestimated the reaction that the public was going to have to it.
I would agree with you.
Like I just was like, okay, this is what it was, and what the fuck had happened, or who the fuck had done the shooting, and so shit, man.
Yeah, it definitely.
Like, what the fuck?
It definitely went a bit farther than that.
And it's stayed in the public eye a lot longer than I expected it to as well.
And I'm sure it'll pop. I'm sure as we start heading towards court and whatnot, it'll start getting attention again. But I don't know. Like I said, I have actually thought about that, and just I don't know. It's really odd that video was causing so much hate, and it's so graphic, but was allowed to stay on all of the social media platforms. It really doesn't make sense.
Oh yeah. It seems like it's definitely wanted to be out there.
And that's like when the shooting, the mass shooting at the mosque, what was it, New Zealand, I believe. Yeah. That video, they had it set up where, if you uploaded it, it was automatically taken down. So it's not like the technology isn't out there. It's not like the algorithms can't handle it. That video, any variation of trying to upload that video could very easily be flagged as pulled immediately.
Right. It's wanted out there, and I've had this conversation with a couple of the protesters that I talked to that were down there, and we've talked quite a fair bit after this in the proceeding in the following weeks. Man, they are pushing this thing like left and right, just trying to fucking stir it up.
Well, that's one thing. And Dustin, no, that's not a cry for censorship. I'm sorry, I saw that in the corner. I do not believe in censorship. I'm saying that there's a very odd, disproportionate level of lack of censorship here, because I lost my original Facebook page with like 60,000 organic followers because of censorship. So I'm not on board with censorship. I just find it odd that something so divisive and graphic is not falling under censorship that so much other shit does. It does raise questions as to why that would be so easily accessible, especially right now, given the volatile nature of the country. That's just asking. I don't know. It's 2020 is a fascinating fucking time to be alive. That's
It's a fucking dumpster fire, man.
it's, I imagine it's gonna get worse.
Oh yeah, I posted a meme this afternoon. It was fucking goddamn. What was it? Oh fucking the final months of 2020. Me about to yell Leroy Jenkins.
This is this is 100% true.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you feel like we forgot? Anything that you want to touch on?
No, man, we pretty much covered it all.
I think so, and I
Yeah.
appreciate your time and fucking. I don't even know. That's a hell of a night that you found yourself in.
Oh fuck yeah, dude! Didn't expect to get to see some people fucking get shot with rubber bullets and get yelled at a little bit and then go home.
Right.
You know.
The more
But
standard
yeah,
protocol.
yeah, you know, I've been into a couple. I've been involved in a few of these things, and that's. I was like, oh, this is just going to be the norm, and no,
But
absolutely not.
well, yeah, like I said, I do appreciate the time. Um, hopefully,
I appreciate you having me.
well, and it's just it is what it is. I mean, like we were just talking about with the shooting, I don't. It looks like Kyle didn't really have people there. It didn't. It doesn't look like he was there to meet a whole group out there
No,
defending stuff. That's so. No, I do appreciate it, and I hope you have a good night, man. Fuck, we
no,
can.
you too, man.
If anything happens, maybe when this moves down the line with court or some shit like that, feel free to give me a shout. We could do this again.
Yeah, yeah, hit me up anytime, man.
All right, you be good, man.
You too. Bye.